Hey guys, so here we are, week 4 of this book study, and we're on chapter 4 today. So I hope you had a great time reading through a bit of a shorter chapter, only 10 pages. But this chapter from We Are Called to Be Companions of the Cross is on an important subject, the subject of supporting one another, unity. Another word, I call it, I've heard this from Madonna House. It's kind of it's a Russian term, sobernost, to be one of mind and spirit. And one of my joys about being a priest with the Companions of the Cross is I live in community. One way I'd say it is, I don't just share a roof with my brothers, but I share a life. And what does it mean to share your life? It means to be in unity, to be there for each other, to be able to support each other, build each other up, affirm each other, challenge each other, to really be authentic. And I know for myself, it's such an important thing in my priesthood. That was one of the main reasons why I joined the Companions, is because I saw a strong brotherhood. And I saw my need for brothers in this mission, right? I'm not supposed to do this on my own, but we're supposed to be together as a community. Jesus formed the church. And so for me to have brother companions to serve with and to live with strengthens my mission. One thing Father Bob says in this chapter, he says this: wherever the Lord can find a group of disciples who are willing to be one with one another, no matter how difficult it may be for them, he is ready to do powerful things. It's a provocative statement. God can do powerful things when we have unity. And on the opposite flip side, Father Bob says this: when you don't have unity, your vision breaks down. He says this in his own words: it is their unity, maybe any community or community of priests or some movement or people gathering together for a mission, it is their unity that God will use to make their work effective. It is their divisions that will bring the vision down. It's of prime importance. We need to be unified. And he says this over and over again. I read it in the earlier chapter. We're not called to clone people. We're not supposed to be the same. We have our differences. It's actually good to have our differences, but we clone the vision. We clone the vision of what we're doing, and we're unified in that. But we need to be supporting each other and loving each other. When he starts off this chapter, Father Bob says, he quotes some scripture passages, and he says this passage from John 13:35, which is important for us to hear. By this will all men know that you are disciples of mine, if you have love for one another. People see it. They see whether a group is unified or not. And you will be witnesses to the gospel when you do so. St. Francis of Assisi, I think it's St. Francis of Assisi, it just says St. Francis. Hopefully it's St. Francis of Assisi. He's quoted here, he says, love is at its best when we are getting nothing at all. So we need to love each other. Love is a choice. It's not just a feeling. And it's not for our benefit. Sure, we might benefit in relationship, but we need to choose love from a selfless place. And as last week I said, we give our all to the Lord in discipleship. We're supposed to give ourselves to each other without any strings attached. Agape love, unconditional love towards each other, to the extent, like we hear in the Gospel of John 15:13, there is no greater love that a man can have than to lay down his life for his friends. Do we love each other that much? Are we willing to actually love each other, to die for each other? That's a pretty strong statement, right? And our reaction should be one of, am I willing to love this hard? Am I willing to commit to my relationship this hard? And to choose to be of service to my brother? Another section he has here is on affirmation. It's important to affirm each other. It's important to encourage each other. He says here, brotherly support is not an option, especially for those who take on ministry within the church. It's necessary, a daily one at that. We need to support each other. And when we affirm each other and support each other, that builds trust and builds communion. So making it a regular part of our life to encourage each other and affirm each other. I know that within the Companions of the Cross, we have this beautiful tradition on our birthdays. All the brothers give affirmations and affirm the brother who's celebrating his birthday. I know when I've received that, it's been so edifying. And then he speaks against negativity. Negativity is a no-go. We need to avoid it at all costs. We need to avoid negative humor. We need to avoid gossip. And the better we get at affirming, the more effective our relationships will be, the more effective our healing process of relationships will be. So he speaks of this in powerful terms. Another section he speaks on is practical steps we can have in facilitating the ongoing work of becoming one. How do we become more unified? And Father Bob gives us 7 steps. He says, 1, I have to be eager to allow my brothers to be themselves. Number 2, I must be willing to work out our differences. We're all going to have differences. How do you work them out? 3, I must find ways to serve my brothers and to affirm them. Number 4, I have to be ready to give up a lot of my own personal preferences. 5, at all costs, I must avoid gossip, idle talk about absent brothers. Number 6, I must pray daily for my brothers, mentioning each one by name before the Lord. And 7, I must desire to have close unity with my brothers and work for it with all my heart. And the last section I want to talk on is Father Bob talking about reconciliation. It's so important. We are going to have our differences, and we are going to get into situations that are troubling or confrontations or adversity between each other. How do we reconcile? And he breaks it down, and I'll give you kind of some steps here of how to do that. So when you approach someone in a desire for reconciliation, start off the conversation with a short prayer. Offer it to the Lord. And then after that, deal with one item at a time. What is it that you want reconciliation on? One item at a time. And only one person talk at a time. That's pretty practical. Next, our vocabulary should be free of confrontational or judgmental terms. We need to be careful how we say things. Like example, you said is not a good way of saying it. Rather, you should say something like, I thought I heard you say. It is important for us to be quite honest. If I have been hurt by something said or done, I have to say so. Next, we have to remember that our meeting is a dialogue. It's not a contest. I'm not interested in proving myself right. The purpose of this dialogue is to understand the brother's point of view, to gain appreciation for where he's coming from. Don't use accusations, they're out of place. Avoid making judgments. An observation is one thing, no harm in that, but don't make judgments. If this dialogue goes on and we become convicted of our own wrong, we need to ask for forgiveness. That's really important. And if they ask for forgiveness, we must forgive. Forgiveness is not a feeling, it's a choice. It's important to get all items aired, even if we need a second or third meeting. We need to complete the process. If our dialogue reaches an impasse, we should invite the assistance of a third party, one who is not likely to take sides. Reconciliation, when finished, has to be lived out, right? You need to actually treat the person as a friend again. He says this kind of tongue-in-cheek, if we can't play together, it's quite unlikely that we will be able to pray together. So there we go. That's a lot there, but unity is important. Forgiveness, reconciliation, and to the effectiveness that we can do this, it will affect the effectiveness of our ministry. God bless you, and I'll see you next week.